Après Transformers The Remake, vous allez découvrir une enquête d'un autre genre réalisée par un jeune réalisateur israélien, Matan Tal. Son desktop movie, The Invention of Chris Marker, part à la recherche de l'avatar du cinéaste français sur YouTube, prénommé Guillaume en Égypte, l'un de ses nombreux pseudonymes. Que reste-t-il de l'œuvre de Marker et comment le rencontrer après sa mort? Pour répondre à ces questions, Matan Tal utilise le desktop movie comme une investigation visuelle qui se déroule principalement par l'intermédiaire de son navigateur internet. Il nous invite à le rejoindre. Join me on this endeavor, inscrit-il ainsi dans la description de la vidéo. Nous progressons dans l'enquête à mesure qu'il progresse lui-même. Sa voix off nous guide dans l'investigation, il raconte sa démarche, ses recherches de mots, montre ses embûches et ses impasses, de YouTube à Instagram en passant par Gmail, puis par la livraison d'un livre qui se révèle être la clé vers un autre univers, celui du jeu vidéo Second Life. Le réalisateur, par le biais de l'icône de sa souris, puis de son avatar dans le musée cimetière Second Life, prolonge le voyage à travers les médias qu'a institué Chris Marker, lui-même joueur de Second Life. Matan Tal réinvente ainsi la figure du flâneur postmoderne, aussi bien dans les commentaires des vidéos YouTube qu'il explore que dans l'immensité de l'espace vidéoludique, où il expérimente avec les possibilités plastiques de son corps virtuel. Vous pourrez découvrir après le film une interview du réalisateur, dans lequel il raconte son processus de création et le succès inattendu de ce film, réalisé durant le premier confinement de 2020. Bon visionnage.
Hey, hello. Great to see you. Thank you for inviting me for this talk.
Okay, first, how do you define yourself as a filmmaker?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Yeah, sure. As a filmmaker, for sure. As a filmmaker. Yeah. A filmmaker is somebody that works in film, no? Creates works of visual art, yeah, and films. So for sure, a filmmaker. I think that's the best definition.
And also as a desktop movie maker.
Yeah, with the work on Chris Marker, yeah, for sure. But I think in that case, it was necessary to use that medium, that genre of desktop films, because it was from the idea when I was starting to think of how I'm gonna make it happen. From the beginning, I realized the only option to deal with this material, with the story of Chris Marker and his online presence, I realized that the only way to deal with it and get to the essence of it was only through desktop films. So it just came to be.
So you knew what was a desktop movie before making one?
Oh, for sure. I've seen a few of them. I remember even when I was in uni, when I was studying in Tel Aviv, they showed us, I think, the first desktop film ever made. I think it was called Noah, which was a guy browsing online, and he had like a fight with his girlfriend. It was over Facebook, something of that nature. Yeah, and it was quite interesting. I still remember it when they showed it to us. But yeah, that left some sort of an impression on me. Yeah, and when I was starting to work on the piece on Chris Marker, immediately that film came to my mind, and I thought, oh, it's possible. It's something that can be done, and you can make something entertaining as well, not just something entertaining and interesting and going deep into a subject with this genre. Yeah.
But more than a desktop movie, your movie, The Invention of Chris Marker, is an investigation. And the desktop movie allows you to, for us spectators of your audience, we can investigate with you online and find what is Chris Marker still alive on his YouTube channel? This is the first question you ask.
Yeah, for sure. If Chris Marker is alive, yeah, through that medium, I was able to investigate, for sure, because it was an investigation. But because it was a desktop film, and I realized that the investigation is purely digital. And that really what was interesting to me, because I wasn't really interested, for example, when I encountered all the comments by Guillaume, when he was commenting on every Chris Marker video available and was uploading and re-uploading material by Chris. I wasn't interested to find out who's the real person in the real world, that is behind this. I was interested purely in the avatar, in the phenomena. And I think it was so Markerish, it was so Chris Marker to do something like it. So that was the spark that got me into this journey, this investigation. And it was an investigation, but in the end it turned from an investigation into like a philosophical investigation on even more profoundly, not just like a detective investigation, but more of getting to the core and the essence of who is Chris Marker and what is he all about. Yeah.
It's interesting because in the movie you go in Second Life, who was maybe the high point in Avatar and in media. How do you discover Second Life?
I heard about it a few times before I made the film, but when I was searching about Chris and about his works, then I encountered that he had a whole museum on Second Life, and it was incredible. And then I realized that Second Life still existed because it was established, I think, in like 2000 and like in the early 2000s. So I thought, like, now in 2020, when I made the film, I thought probably it does not exist anymore. But then I found the link that was directly like transporting you into his museum in Second Life. So I clicked on it. And the investigation into his museum began because I was just launched into the world of Chris Marker, and I was just there, almost in his presence, just as he left it. The museum still is intact. Yeah.
Another question about how you made the desktop movie. Did you always record what you were doing on the internet, on the YouTube channels, on Instagram, on Second Life? Or did you choose to stage what you were doing? I don't know if you understand what I mean.
No, I think I do. It depends, because sometimes I was just on the go. So, for example, if I found some leads into some direction, I wanted to get an authentic response of me. For example, when I was on the laptop, when I was recording, I wanted, in certain moments that I knew that I'm going into a specific direction, I wanted to have this element of uncontrollable surprise, even for me. Because I noticed early on that if, for example, I would discover something, then the computer or me on the laptop would move in a certain way. And then it's I won't say simulated, but it was a true surprise for me. And you felt it and you saw it on the screen. And of course, there were moments that I knew, that, for example, a few videos that I already have seen. So I just re-recorded them because I knew, oh, that's interesting, I can use that. But most of the time it was kind of authentic, because I was recording for example, like bits and pieces of 30 minutes. So for 30 minutes, I was just like going from here to there. And for example, when I was in Second Life, I was recording nonstop, like from the beginning that I went in until I left, and I was there for about 2 days of like going in and out. I just explored and I recorded, and just a tiny bit of it is in the film. So for example, all the moments when the avatar is flying and he's crashing into things and he's all clumsy, that was purely spontaneous. It was just happening on the go. And when it was happening, I thought, oh, that's funny. That's like real slapstick stuff. So I incorporated into the experience. Yeah.
So was it difficult for you to edit the movie and make it something that is visually appealing and that doesn't relate to everything you saw, but focuses on maybe the keystones of your investigation?
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, because the editing itself was about 3 weeks. The shooting was about 4 days, I would say, but 3 weeks was the editing, and it was a challenge, especially when I incorporated the narration. No? When I was trying to create an appealing investigation, a whole story around it. That took some time. For example, I read an interview with Chris Marker, when he was talking about Saint Soleil, and that he had all this material when he was making the film, and he knew that he can make something out of it, but he was writing the narration again and again, and he couldn't quite figure it out, like what's going to be the narrative, until it suddenly struck him, and then he had the film. So the same thing here with this film. I had the material and I was starting to edit it, and then I realized the film is going in a certain way and I wanted to go to a different way, but the film just had a voice of its own. So for some moments, I didn't really have a full control of where the story is going, but I tried to encapsulate it and make sense out of it through the narration. And with that as well, to give a sensation of who is Chris and what he's all about as well. Yeah.
There is the editing of the images, but you also use sound design and music.
Yeah.
Can you tell more about that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, especially the music that is used. It was no accident that I used that music, because the film is called the Invention of Chris Marker, which is the title of a book that he recommends everybody to read, which is called the Invention of Morello, which tells a story about an island that has all sorts of interesting things happening on it. And that was the inspiration as well to his Second Life exhibition. And why I mentioned in the book is because the two songs that are used in the film are mentioned in the story, especially the song Valencia, when he's singing in this almost operatic voice. It's from the book, and when I put it on the timeline and when I was editing, I thought like, voila, that's it should be here, it should be in the film, I should incorporate it, because it just gives the film another layer, and it's just create this connection with the book and with Second Life and with the whole story.
In the description of the movie on YouTube, you write that the movie that no one will see the movie and he didn't travel at the end. Do you think it's true?
Oh yeah, I was surprised, to say the least. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because when I made the film, I was supposed to shoot a short film in Senegal in last May, but because of COVID, obviously things were postponed, and then I had this timeline that I was available, and I just took it to make the film, and I just did it because, like, as a passion project, because I had the time and it just happened, sort of, and I thought, it's Chris Marker is a very niche kind of filmmaker. Of course, a lot of filmmakers and a lot of film buffs adore Chris Marker, but he's not a mainstream director. So for example, I made the film and I immediately uploaded it to YouTube. I didn't even think of sending it to film festivals, though I could technically, but I thought, let's just make it and just give it to the audience, to the world. And exactly like you said, I wrote that I made this film for 99 people, Yeah, and I was wrong because, yeah, I think about more than 1,000 people already saw it, maybe even 1,500 or something like that. But the people who saw it really gave me a positive and loving response, because I got in touch, like they contacted me, a few friends of Chris Marker from Paris. And last summer I was in Paris and I had a few meetings with his with friends of his, people who were involved in his films, producers. So it was a lot of fun, and it would have never been possible if I wouldn't have made the film and if I wouldn't just put it out there. So you can never know when you make a film who's gonna see it. And for example, if you hear of those blockbusters that millions and millions of people watch them, and a year later they are forgotten, right? But you can make a small film and just put it out there, and maybe just a few thousands are gonna watch it, but it might touch them. It might create connections. It might teach something. You just never know. That's the beauty of cinema. That's purely the beauty of cinema, and it's amazing. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you for having me, and I hope everybody's gonna love the film and learn about Chris and just to spread the love of cinema. Yeah.